Hey neighbors, Kevin here with eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install your B&W Patriot fifth wheel hitch here on our 2024 Ford F-250. Now, if you're like our neighbor today and you have a short bed F-250 and you're wanting to use a trailer that has a pin box that is rotating, so like our neighbor today is going to be using a Reese Sidewinder, and there's a lot of stipulations that go along with that because you need 4 strong mounting points for your hitch before you can actually hook up to and use one of those rotating pin boxes. So that's where having a base rail kit is going to come into play, along with our Patriot fifth wheel hitch. Now typically with a 24 and up, or even maybe 2020, you're typically seeing those puck systems, or you're going to be putting in a gooseneck. We really love to recommend the B&W turnover ball and companion because it offers you the benefit of having an empty bed along with a gooseneck and then a fifth wheel option so that you can tow everything. But unfortunately, with that one single mounting point, you're not allowed to use that with a rotating pin box. The B&W Patriot is going to come with a 16,000 pound gross towing weight capacity, as well as a 4,000 pound vertical load limit. And that vertical load limit is going to compare to your pin weight for your trailer. So that's the downward pressure of the pin box pressing up against our fifth wheel hitch. If we take a closer look at the jaws, these are a dual jaw setup. They are 3/4 inches thick, and they give you a full 360-degree wraparound of the kingpin. And just to give you a little walkthrough of how it works, we'll pop out our pin and clip, which is also conveniently attached to a chain so you won't lose it. If we pull back our handle just a bit, that's going to unlatch those jaws, and then we can bring in our kingpin. Now, I don't have as much force as your trailer would going behind it, so I am going to have to push up with the handle, but then that's going to lock in there and not have as much movement as it would with some of the other options on the market. Once we do have our trailer coupled up to our hitch, we're going to want to make sure that we pop back in our pin and clip so that way we secure it and there's no way for the handle to come unlatched and lose our trailer. As far as build quality goes, B&W is #1 for the majority of the people that work here, as well as myself. And if you just check out some of the reviews as well, they're going to tell you B&W is one of the higher quality options to go with when it comes to your fifth wheel hitch. Now, installing this is pretty simple. Putting it together is something you can easily do at home, but if you don't have the tools or the time or knowledge to do so, maybe you don't own a torque wrench and you don't feel like going and renting one out, then please use our dealer locator. You can find a shop within your zip code to help build your hitch and then get it into the bed. This is pretty heavy, so you might not want to do it yourself. If you can have a shop drop it in for you and take care of all the heavy lifting, that's a really good added bonus. Now, if you are doing this yourself, stick around because we're going to show you how we got it put together and then mount it into our base rails. Now, to set your hitch height at the correct height here so that our head's actually going to match up, we can have 6 inches of clearance between our bed rails and the nose of our fifth wheel, is to measure up. So if you come back to the back of your bed, you're going to measure up to the top of the bed right here, all the way from the ground while on level ground. And then you want to go over to your trailer while it is level, and then you'll go up to your pin box, and you want to get this point, that flat plate that is right above your kingpin that it's welded to. We're going to measure from that down to the ground. The difference between those two numbers is going to be what your hitch height needs to be for your fifth wheel hitch. All right, to install our pivot arms, once you figure out what height you need to be at, there's also going to be a couple different sets here depending on which way you want to have this forward or back. You can get up to 2 inches away from the cab or an extra 4 inches away. So we're going to go with that extra 4 inches just because this is a short bed. On the brackets that we're going to slide in on the back side here so that our pivot arms have something to thread into, there is a space before the threads, and that is going to need to be facing against the bracket here because if we look at our bolts, they have a really large shoulder on them. So that shoulder needs somewhere to sit, and if we try and do this the other way, it's going to block us from being able to put that all the way through. So once we decide where we want it, and if you look at your pivot arms too, and the diagram that's in your instructions, that'll help tell you which way to face these. So I'm going to be placing mine somewhat towards the middle in height. Put the bolts this in to help hold our pivot arm in place. And we take our bracket, and you're going to need a 3/8 socket or a wrench so that you can actually tighten these down. And then these will also be torqued as well. And some of this you might find B&W is very proud of their powder coating. Sometimes it's a little bit thick on those holes, so you might have to switch right to that wrench just because it doesn't want to fully go through yet. So using this 3/4 inch socket, we'll get these tightened down, and then we can torque it to the specifications listed in the manual. All right, now we'll just repeat this process over on the other side, making sure that we're matching the same exact holes so that our pivot arms both line up. Now I'm going to make some room by dropping our hitch down into the rails, and we can then bring on the head. Now in the little booklet that came with your hitch, there's going to be a little packet of white lithium grease, and we're going to use that to lube up the bushings right here. White lithium grease is really good when it comes to towing just because it's not going to attract dirt or any other kind of debris that could potentially build up and then bind up your hitch. So getting a nice coating of this on there every once in a while to help lubricate and allow it to rock back and forth a little bit better is going to help extend the life of your hitch. Now we can lift up by the two handles, which is going to release two latches, which you can kind of see right there. That's what locks our head on. We'll lift those up, drop the head into place, and as we release those, that locks it into place so that the head can't be removed. In your kit, you're gonna have a little tensioner spring here and a clip that's gonna pop onto the pivot arm. Now, you'll wanna have this portion of it that's got that little bend out, and that's gonna sit up against the pivot arm, and it's gonna screw onto this little bracket. Now to find out where I need to put this, I've just kind of shoved it up in there, and I had a little piece of painter's tape with me so I could push it right to where the end is because I wanted to get this all the way up as far as I could with the funnel facing down. That way when we go to couple up, it's going to be a whole lot easier because the spring's going to help hold it down so that way when the kingpin comes in, it'll start to lift up the trailer and then pop back in and lock. So now that we have that marked, I can take my head back off and we can get that little bracket mounted. Included in your kit, there's going to be a tiny little bolt and a lock nut. We're going to thread that on. And then that is going to require a 7/16 socket and wrench. And we'll just snug that down. Then we can drop our head back into place. All right. And now you can see it's forcing the funnel down. That way, whenever we go to couple up, it'll be a little bit easier. Now for our handle, there's going to be two more bolts. They're going to be these button heads with a little hex key hole for it. You're going to need a 7/32 Allen key and then a 9/16 socket for the nut. We'll get these in there hand tight to start. And we'll be doing the two outer holes. That middle hole is going to be for our little pin and clip. Now the final thing to do is going to be slotting in our pin and clips so that we can secure our hitch to the base rails. I've already got the two back ones in. With the front ones, it's going to be the same deal. We're going to slide them right through. And you can see in this little slot on the side where the end of it is, we're going to just stick our our clip right through. Get that secured. Now that everything is assembled, torqued down, and we have our pin and clips in, that'll do it for our install, and we're ready to hit the road. Well, I think that does it for today's look at and installation of our B&W Patriot fifth wheel hitch here on our 2024 Ford F-250. For your F-250, please feel free to reach out to us via our Ask the Experts link, a comment on this video, or a phone call to our customer service department. We'd be happy to help you out on your journey.